everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it. Again, during the presentation today, if you do have questions, just type those in at the bottom, the Q&A section at the bottom of this screen, and we'll get to those after the presentation. I would now like to turn this over to Force Family Office partner Tony Kuhn, who will kick off the presentation. Tony?
Yeah, thank you so much, Harvey. And today we're so pleased to welcome Dr. Stephanie Osterich, who is the managing director of the Myeloma Investment Fund. Dr. Osterich leads the Myeloma Investment Fund strategy and operation, focused on advancing innovation, innovative therapies, and technology to improve the outcomes of patients with multiple myeloma. Of course, multiple myeloma is a deadly cancer disease, yet we have not found a cure for it. And so her efforts are really on the cutting edge of finding ways to hopefully one day eradicate and certainly in the meantime extend patient lives. So she's a Harvard graduate, an MIT faculty, and also a violinist with the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra. So a really accomplished person. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Osterich, and please, looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much to the Force Family Office team and to all of you for joining today. I'm very excited to be here with you. Thank you for the introduction. Let me actually go to the beginning of the presentation here. And let me say it's a really exciting time for multiple myeloma. I just came from a strategy meeting of our organization. And after there were so many years where there were no therapies for this disease, we're actually talking about a cure clinical trial. And I would love to walk you a little bit through how all of this shaped out, and especially how family offices like yours and angel investors are playing such an important role in fostering philanthropy in this indication. But to start with our fund a little bit, we are a mission-driven philanthropic venture fund that is working towards a cure in this disease. Cure is a very big word, but we are really at the brink of a cure in this indication. The fund was started to accelerate new therapies 6 years ago, and we really wanted to speed the development of truly transformative new myeloma therapies for patients. We're doing this by engaging the venture community. We are really leveraging the broader venture capital community to fund these advances in multiple myeloma. And you will see a little bit later that we are often the first dollars into a startup, but we are also like a stamp of approval with all of our experience. And so our dollars are provided philanthropically. And we provide the stamp of approval, and that often creates an avalanche of additional funding for these companies. We are close to getting basically an evergreen fund so that we are self-sustaining and that we can reinvest all of the returns from our fund into new therapies. But we're not there yet. So there's still support that we need, and we're grateful to all of our donors for that. A little bit of a history and an overview of our parent organization, the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. It was started over 25 years ago by a multiple myeloma patient who I'm very glad to report is still alive and has really helped to shape the outcomes of this disease. What we're doing at the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation is we are funding and running clinical trials. And through that, we're creating data that are very, very important for the entire community and are answering questions that are really bringing the field forward. And that also, these contacts to KOLs, so to doctors, to treating physicians, to academics, as well as pharma companies, we are also sharing with our portfolio companies. So we are building very, very important relationships and have built a clinical network, a research consortium with over 14 sites in North America. And with that, we are really a trusted third-party brand with direct connections to the multiple myeloma patients and really an unparalleled overview of the multiple myeloma landscape. In fact, I'm writing a paper together with one of our clinicians at UCSF, and we're getting ready to also publish this paper. So very, very exciting times for us. So we have really three strategic priorities at the MMRF, the foundation. Our vision is to make a world free of multiple myeloma, and we're doing that by accelerating a cure for really each and every multiple myeloma patients. And we're doing that by accelerating the development of novel therapies on the one hand through our trials, but also through our fund. We want to drive really the optimal and more personalized treatment approaches, and we're doing that by generating insights into this disease. We're also promoting health equity, not just in the United States, where we know that a lot of patients who are not living on the East or West Coast, unfortunately, don't have access to or can't afford cutting-edge therapies, and we're working hard to rectify this. And we want to in generally empower the patients and the multiple myeloma community. So what is multiple myeloma? It is a blood cancer caused by really abnormal plasma cells. Here you can see a picture of the bone marrow, one of the big bones that inside of the bones you have what's called the bone marrow. And inside the bone marrow, the blood cells, including the plasma cells, are being made. And normal plasma cells, you see normal plasma cells here, but there are actually mutations or translocations in the chromosomes that cause these cells to become abnormal, and that can also cause some other features that I'm going to describe in a second. But first of all, just to underline, this is actually not a small disease. It's the second most common cancer of the blood. There were about 35,000 cases, roughly in 2025, and about 150,000 are living with this disease. It represents roughly 2% of all new cancer cases in the United States, and it's a disease of older patients, so median age of diagnosis is 69. There are a few risk factors for the disease: older age. Also, males have myeloma more frequently than females. Obesity and also race is another factor. The incidence for African Americans is actually twice that of Caucasians. There's also family history. If there's a first-degree relative with multiple myeloma, there's a higher risks. And also relatives of multiple myeloma patients have what's called more monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, or MGUS. That's one of the precursor diseases of multiple myeloma. And despite all of this, the current recommendation is to not screen families. Here you can see some of the symptoms, even though a number of patients don't have symptoms. Low blood counts that lead to weakness, fatigue, and infection are often a symptom. Patients also have decreased kidney function, which also leads to weakness. The bone damage leads to bone pain, and they have high calcium levels, which leads to confusion, constipation, nausea, and weakness in the patients. The treatment path depends on whether the patients are a candidate for stem cell transplantation. There's induction therapy first to prepare the patient, then they receive the transplant. Then there's another type of therapy called consolidation therapy, and then the patients are usually on maintenance therapy to make sure the treatment stays effective. If the patients are not a transplant candidate, either due to age or because they don't have a relative or a match for a transplant, this transplant and consolidation step is being skipped. But just to mention, for instance, our founder, who was diagnosed 30 years ago, received a transplant, but it was from her twin sister. And with that, again, very happy to report that she's still doing very well. But we are especially excited about the progress that has been made in multiple myeloma. As you can see here, 50 years ago, only about a quarter of the patients survived more than 5 years. And if you go to the present, it's now about 2/3. And in the last few years, also there's been a lot of innovation in the therapies, starting with chemotherapy, steroids, and stem cell transplantation 50 years ago. And then the so-called IMiDs and proteasome inhibitors came to the market 20 years ago. That was a big step forward, and you can see also that increased the outcomes significantly. And in the last 10 years, we had really an avalanche of novel therapies, monoclonal antibodies, cell therapies, and also what's called T-cell engagers came to the market and have really contributed to the field now actually preparing for a cure in this indication. Here are a few examples of current myeloma therapies. I know some of you might be scientists, but I'm trying to be relatively low level in my scientific explanations here. So the IMiDs and proteasome inhibitors basically enter the cancer cells, and they're stopping critical functions that then lead to the killing of these cancer cells. And there's also monoclonal antibodies that bind to the myeloma cells, and then they engage the signaling cascade of the immune system to attack the cancer cells. There's not just monoclonal, that there's also bispecific antibodies that basically have two arms. Antibodies always have two arms, but the monoclonal antibodies bind to basically the same target. Bispecifics bind to different ones. And here the myeloma cells, so the cancer cells, and to the T cells, and bring them together so that the T cells can kill the cancer cell. And then we have cell therapies where these T cells are actually being modified. So you're basically arming, the soldiers of the immune system, the T cells, and then they can now recognize and bind to the myeloma cells, and then that leads to the cell killing. And there's also specific inhibitors to what we call targets that block, for instance, like XPO1, the nuclear export of proteins, and that disrupts the cell growth and survival. But then there's even more new modalities in development, targeted small molecules that aim to disrupt the proteins that drive the multiple myeloma progression. There are also what's called antibody drug conjugates. They bind to the myeloma cells and deliver toxic drugs to kill these myeloma cells. And then there's a novel type of cell therapy that harnesses the killing power of natural killer cells through the binding of myeloma cells. And then there's an especially exciting type of cell therapy that almost works like a COVID vaccine. So I mentioned cell therapies before, where you have to basically extract the T cells from a patient, you modify them, you amplify them, and then you give them back to the patient. But here, basically the in vivo CAR T therapy does all of that because the novel T cell is encoded in a DNA or RNA. This can be injected like a COVID vaccine, and then the body does the job of making the novel T cells. So that's an extremely exciting innovation. We have invested in 2 of these companies this year or last year, and these therapies are going to be in the clinic and will be a revolution for the field. And then there's also what's called allogeneic CAR T cells. So basically, this therapy creates T cells from stem cells for all patients, not what's called autologous therapies, where basically only the patient's own cells can be used. So really a number of innovation that is happening. And what we have done at the Myeloma Investment Fund is we looked into a really exhaustive approach of lots of therapies or potential therapies in research, in development, and on the market. So we looked at over 300 of them and found a lot of innovation, but also a lot of similarities. For instance, nearly 2/3 of the pipeline is focused on only 2 modalities, cell therapies and small molecules. And about 40%, so almost half, is focused on only 2 new known targets. They're called BCMA and CD38. So clearly, new innovation is necessary to really move this field forward and lead to a cure in this indication. So this is how we picked the 3 pillars of our investment funds, and that's what informs all of our investments. The first one is that we want to invest in new CAR T cell designs and modalities, because we know that the current ones are really highly efficacious treatments. They are inducing deep response, but there's still room for improvement. And the patients often relapse. There's really no durable remission. And many of them only target one target so far, BCMA. It's also a toxic agent that is requiring high patient fitness. And mostly, basically, the therapy has to be performed in an academic clinical setting. So it cannot be a community hospital. It's also costly and complicated to deliver this to patients. And this is hopefully what in vivo CAR T is going to solve. The second one is our novel immune-enhancing therapies. We see more and more, also with these cell therapies, that the immune system is really critical in being able to kill the cancer cells. And that's why we're also investing in companies that are fostering the patient's immune systems. And lastly, we are looking into what we call undruggable targets. So basically targets where we know they are very important in the oncology field and have not been able to drug so far. Examples are RAS or MYC or MCL1. And we have potential therapies in our pipeline that we're currently evaluating and have already invested in some of these companies. So you can see with all these advancements that the multiple myeloma market is really growing. It's currently at about 30 billion in value. And in just the next 5 years, it is going to be at 40 and then at over 50 in the next 10 years. So really a very exciting market, largely because of all of this innovation, improving the longevity of the patients and the treatment armamentarium, and patients are also being diagnosed early. So in this context, why venture philanthropy? It's basically bridging the funding and also strategic gap at the important early stages of drug development. And this is why venture-backed companies are playing really an increasing large role in drug development. Pharma companies are typically looking to biotech startups to do the risky early stages of drug development. About 70% of the new therapeutic agents are actually being developed in venture-backed life science companies. And venture capital is really critical to advance this innovation and bridge the gap between basic research, often in academia or in a startup, and the clinic, at which point a pharma company would advance a therapy. So this is why we are investing in the most promising private biotech companies, and that enables basically the Myeloma Investment Fund, on the one hand, to advocate for myeloma patients through these investments so that they can benefit from the most advanced therapeutic technologies. We're also providing strategic guidance to our portfolio companies so that we can really maximize the probability of success. We are very active investors. We introduce our companies to other investors. We introduce them to KOLs, and we also introduce them to pharma companies. And with this, there's a benefit also for financial returns, of course. Sometimes I get the question: is there actually, would there be kind of a difference between a philanthropic fund and an institutional fund? And from a return perspective, I'm also always saying it is important that we can do well in order to do good. So let me see if I can advance this a little bit further. So here's our investment philosophy. We want to really invest in transformational benefits for patients. So any of the therapies that we are supporting must be potential first or best in class. So we're not investing in generics or in really incremental innovation. We invest in moonshot innovations, and it should have a significant impact of resources. So our investments and strategic partnerships must be really transformational for the patients. And there should be a potential for significant financial return. We really have a fiduciary responsibility to really make our donors' dollars have an outsized impact, both in terms of additional funding that we can leverage from co-investors and their ability to really sustain future investments. So this is how we are delivering on our mission here. We are accelerating the development of novel therapies through our venture philanthropy in the fund and through our clinical trials. Our ongoing trial is called Horizon. And secondly, we're driving more personalized, really optimal treatment approaches. We have generated a number of data. For instance, with a 1,100 patient trial called Compass, but we have a number of other initiatives also ongoing. And it's very important for us to provide education to patients. We have a lot of educational programming and patient navigation ongoing, and provide grants to really increase the diversity of researchers and clinicians. And with that, we have already generated a number of results here. So we have helped to bring over 15 different multiple myeloma drugs into the market. We have opened over 80 clinical trials, and our work has contributed to patient survival rates increasing from 3 years to over 10. And we have raised over 600 million, of which 90% is going into research. And all of this is really going into research. And I'm very happy to also emphasize that dollar for dollar of every donation into the Myeloma Investment Fund is going into the companies. So the foundation is paying my salary, but every donation for the goes for the MIF is going into startups. So here's an overview of the progress of the fund today. We have made 23 million in investments, but already received about a 2x return from 3 portfolio exits we had. We have invested in 21 portfolio companies and accelerated 21 myeloma programs. And I'm especially very happy to report that 6 of our companies are now in the clinic. So this is not just a pipe dream. It is already benefiting patients, and not just myeloma patients. There were 31 additional indications that were pursued by our platform companies. So often our companies have a platform technology, and they're applying that in myeloma, but also in other hematological cancers, lymphoma or AML, but also in solid tumors like breast cancer or colorectal cancer, or in other indications, autoimmune indications, and others as well. And you can see on the right-hand side that we are investing together with the best and brightest in venture capital. And our companies have collectively raised over $1 billion. So really a great success story that we are hoping to continue. And here you can see an overview of our portfolio, how it is progressing. We have grouped it along the 3 priority areas that I mentioned before. And on the x-axis, you can see that our companies, you can see the 6 companies in the clinic. We have a number of early preclinical companies, and we have a number of companies that are sort of in the middle. Here in the top middle, we have the 2 in vivo CAR T companies that we invested in last year. And with a star in the bottom left, you can see Coding Bio, or our latest company we're very excited about. It's a UK company, an Oxford University spin-out that is engaging the T cells. So one of the hottest areas in this field right now. So we have really made a unique contribution, and here is one of our examples. The company we invested in 2019, Tidal, was a startup with potentially a novel platform that could be transformational for multiple myeloma, but they needed to really prioritize the targets that they were going after. So we provided them with access to our Compass database and provided insights on the expression of 12 candidates across multiple lines of treatment. And Tidal then created 2 myeloma programs that were prioritized based on this guidance on this database. And the result was that the company was acquired in 2021, so only 2 years after we invested. And we still receive milestones and royalties based on various milestones that the company is achieving in the clinic, and then hopefully also on the market. So since the fund's existence in the last 6 years, we helped to move 6 drugs into the clinic. But we really require significant funding to invest in all the potentially exciting therapies in multiple myeloma that we have currently available. We have a database where we're looking into all of the different opportunities that we've ever seen, and we on average look into over 100 companies every year. So really a significant amount of innovation. So to really pursue this, additional funding would be required to accelerate the path to a cure in multiple myeloma. We're very happy that we received a significant donation last year, and this is for the donor. This is tax deductible, and it was also matched by other donors, which we are immensely grateful for. and we could not do what we're doing without the support of our donors. And we're looking forward with this funding to hopefully generate a cure in multiple myeloma for all of the patients. So here is who is the fund. You can see we are really very lean, but also very experienced. In terms of my own experience, I have a background in biochemistry, a PhD, and also an MPA from Harvard, and worked both in pharma, in biotech, and in venture. And I also have an associate. She has also a PhD and was an analyst at Bank of America, so complementing a lot of finance and investment experience here. So we would love to stay in touch with all of you. I'm sure there are questions, and
There
look forward
are.
to a great dialogue here.
Great. Well, we do have a number of questions that have come in. So if you can stop sharing your screen, Stephanie, we'll go ahead and do that. And just so everyone knows, we will share contact information with Stephanie after the presentation. So she'll have all your contact information. Also, if you do want to get in touch, you can reach out to us and we'll make sure we make that connection as well. So first question, how do you see the multiple myeloma treatment landscape evolving over the next decade? Do you see a cure?
It's a great question, and this is exactly what we also discussed at our strategy meeting literally yesterday. Yes, we do see a cure in the future. The question in the short term is what is the patient population that we can call functionally cured? And we need to develop a really solid definition for a cure. But there was a recent paper that looked into the results of patients that were treated with one of the cell therapies, Carvykti, and the patients that there were about a third of the patients that were treated that had a functioning immune system, they called functionally cured. So there is an effort currently to basically run a cure trial at the level of the International Myeloma Society. And there are also a lot of exciting developments scientifically that will contribute to that. So I mentioned the in vivo CAR T coming into the clinic, and also what's called the T cell engagers, and a few other very exciting therapies. So yeah, the future definitely looks very promising for the multiple myeloma patients.
Great, thank you so much. How does the fund support let me try this again.
Portfolio companies.
How does this fund support portfolio companies beyond capital, strategic guidance, that trial design, those things?
Yeah. In fact, that's our most important support. So we are very active investors. So we are board members or observers on our companies, and that is also what we always mandate, because we really want to help and guide our companies into the right direction, not because we don't believe in them. In fact, we do, because that's when we invested. But we have a lot of contacts and resources that we bring to the table. So we are helping them in their research strategy and also in their clinical trial design. Our chief medical officer is on the faculty at Mount Sinai Hospital, and our clinical trial lead has decades-long experience and runs our own clinical trials. So we are sharing that information with our portfolio companies. We have great connections to all of the different sites in the United States and to the investigators and the KOLs. We provide contacts there, and we also make recommendations where the trial should be conducted and which of the KOLs they could potentially work with, who will also reliably include patients into the clinical trials. We make introductions also for business development discussions to the pharma companies because they provide the drugs for our trials. So we have really good connections to them as well. And then last but not least, you have seen we have good connections to our syndicate members, all of the other institutional venture capitalists, and these really include the blue chip investors like Khosla Ventures, RA Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, etc., that we also make very trusted introductions to for our portfolio companies.
Great. How does the fund source opportunities? Is it academia, biotech startups, pharma spinouts?
Yeah, another great question. We have through the software that we're using, we actually conducted an analysis, and the most effective source of new opportunities is other investors, because they often have already vetted the opportunity, and we trust them, they trust us. So this is a very high probability of success then. Number two is conferences. So I just went to the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, and I'm still working through my email inbox here with all the interesting companies I met with there. And the third is really my biotech network in general. I've been in the life science industry for 25 years now. So yeah, significant contacts there. And you mentioned academic contacts too. We have also very, very good contacts into academia as well. So really these four buckets.
Great. Are there specific unmet needs in myeloma care that you believe are still under-addressed by current therapies?
Yes, there are a number of them. The patients need new therapies. A lot of patients receive a number of therapies, but unfortunately, they eventually run out of therapies and basically become resistant and unfortunately pass. So we need novel therapies. We also need a more personalized approach, and this is why we are currently sharpening the risk algorithm for our patients in the Horizon trial that I mentioned. And the third aspect is this disease is a very heterogeneous disease, and with all the drugs on the market, it's increasingly difficult for the physicians to really chart the optimal treatment pathway. So they almost have to be like a chess player to think ahead, not just what is the next therapy for the patient, but what comes after that, because any therapy will influence, for instance, the immune system of the patient. So we are in the Horizon trial also trying to assess what is the right drug for the right patient at the right time. So should they get an antibody first, and then a cell therapy, and then bispecific? So these are the three areas of unmet medical need clinically, and then there is a huge health disparity. So many of these therapies are very costly and very complicated. So this is also what we are trying to remediate. On the one hand, through better information, but also by supporting therapies that are either less complicated to administer and or cheaper in administration.
So which of the therapeutic modalities that you talked about are you most excited about?
It's a little bit like picking your favorite child, but I am, in fact, most excited about the in vivo CAR T therapy. So simply because it's such a game changer. I mentioned that even the traditional CAR T, and I've met some of these patients, and some of them have become my friends who, they shared with me their journey and pictures of where they were in the hospital, and a picture of them together with their cells. But it's a very, very complicated process, and just the vision of simply like a vaccine, getting a shot, and then the body makes these great therapies itself. It's just such an amazing innovation. That's the one that I'm personally most excited about, and we have invested in 2 of these, and we are in fact assessing a third one right now.
Your enthusiasm comes through. We can see that. So
Yeah, I'm very enthused in general by science, and it's so great to see how this is benefiting the patients, and yeah, how it's also enabling the physicians, yeah, with all their great efforts. If they don't have good therapies, yeah, they cannot really do good. But with all this innovation, it's so exciting to really literally bring this to life and bring life.
Mhm. So what are the key diligence factors that can make or break an investment decision for the
Mhm.
fund?
Yeah, and this is really illustrated by our diligence process that we build. So me and my associate, we are the first kind of line of assessment. We look into on the one hand the science, yeah, along the 3 criteria that I mentioned, and so is it fulfilling any of those, and is it also competitively viable? So yeah, we look in. So I mentioned I have launched 6 drugs in my previous pharma life. We're looking into, yeah, we're trying to project 10 years out, 15 years out, when this drug is on the market. Will it have a competitive positioning that it can really stand up on, or are there going to be so many others that are going to be even better? So that's one fact. The second fact is, what is the management team? Have they built companies before? Have they attracted financing? Have they had an exit? Were they able to sell their company or bring it to the market? Are they well regarded in the ecosystem? And then who are the other investors? Because it's important to also sequence the investments. So for a company, not just to think about what is my seed stage investor base, but who will be my Series A, my Series B investors, who will invest in a crossover round? Are there investors that can also still support the company when it's going public? So these are really the 3 criteria, and we assess that first internally with our CSO and our CMO and our leadership team. And then we also engage our scientific advisory board. And then we conduct very thorough due diligence, IP, legal, and financial due diligence. If I can share, the companies are sometimes amazed by how much diligence we conduct as a fund, but we think we have to be even more diligent than normal funds because of the fiduciary responsibility towards our donors. And if all of this is satisfactory, then we write a very detailed investment committee memo. We present that to our investment committee, and if the investment committee, which are very experienced venture capitalists, approve, then we can invest, and then we take board observer or board seats, and we manage the investment.
Right. So what is the minimum donation the fund accepts?
So the minimum donation of the fund, so there can be donations directly to the fund, and that is 250,000. And those donors constitute, they're basically, yeah, they're like for an institutional fund, our LPs. And we conduct regular meetings with our DAC members, and many of them have philanthropic funds, but also institutional funds, and we share deal flow with them. So many also invest from basically their own funds. But for the MMRF, the foundation, there's no minimum, investment or donation.
Got it. So that leads, I think, into the next question and final question here. Are there co-investment opportunities or direct investment opportunities alongside the fund?
Yes, that's exactly what I described. So we have a few philanthropic funds that donate to us, and they have their own institutional funds, and we regularly share deal flow with them, and we invest together. So yeah, they donate to us, and we invest, and this is a donation, and it's basically recycled when there's an exit or a return into the fund. But there's also opportunities to also invest directly for returns. And yeah, we in fact also invest, as I mentioned, with institutional VCs that have generated some nice returns here.
Great. Well, that's all the questions we have today. I really appreciate you being here and sharing what you guys are doing in this incredibly important area. Everyone on the call, we have your contact information, and we'll share that with Stephanie at the Myeloma Fund, and she'll be reaching out to you. Again, if you do want to get in touch with her sooner, please contact us and we'll put you in touch. Stephanie, I'd love for you just to take a minute and wrap things up, and then we'll call it a day.
Thank you so much, Harvey. Thank you, Tony. Thank you to the FORCE Family Office team. I'm really immensely grateful for all of the support of all of our donors. It is really such an amazing time for the Myeloma Investment Fund and for the myeloma community. I mentioned I joined 2 years ago, and I was always very engaged by the prospect to advance this deadly disease. But now having a cure, as our North Star, and this is really, coming into reality here. So I would love to encourage as many of you as possible to join our journey and to celebrate with us. Hopefully, the next time we speak about reporting that we can achieve a cure in multiple myeloma. So a big thank you to all of you.
Great. Well,
thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, this is very, very good, very helpful. And I want to thank everybody who attended and got the chance to hear what progress you're making. So thanks, everyone. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you, Stephanie. And have a great day.